All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to You Like That Extra Lockdown Sessions. My name is Jack. I am one half. I'm the only half of You Like That Extra for now, for who fucking knows how long. This week, the theme was Marvel movies, but not those Marvel movies. Before the MCU, before Kevin Feige took over everything, there was a guy called Avi Arad who ran Sony, I think, or he had something to do with Sony, and he just made mostly shitty comic book movies. He had a big hand in the Spider-Man movies, and then in the Spider-Man 3, he had a much bigger hand, and we all know how that went, even though it's a fantastic movie. But yeah, there are all these movies before the MCU, before Iron Man, just lesser known characters like The Punisher, Blade, Fantastic Four got their own movies, X-Men, of course, Ghost Rider, which I really wanted to win. The choices this week were Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, the sequel to Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, which is just an insane movie. I watched it again and it's awful. Like, don't get me wrong, categorically awful, but I loved it. The Punisher with Thomas Jane, which I haven't seen. I haven't seen any of these in such a long time, but apparently it's pretty good, quite violent. I don't remember. I might get around to that one day. The one that won, of course, most people's favorite of these pre-MCU movies, Blade 2. I would say that's in contention with X-Men 2 as people's favorites. Obviously, Spider-Man 2 is the best one. They had a good run with sequels. Obviously, Spider-Man 2 is the best one. Like, anyone who says otherwise is just wrong. Blade 2. I don't have my notes open. Fuck, how professional. So professional. Blade 2 came out in 2002. And boy, does it show. This is the most 2000s movie you'll ever see. Bloody hell. The second the New Line Cinema logo comes up, you're just like, oh yeah, 2002. Just like straight away. Guillermo del Toro directed it. It's not very Del Toro-y. You wouldn't know it at all, except that Ron Perlman's in it. And their buddies. Norman Reedus as well. Death Stranding himself. The Walking Dead guy, whatever his name is. I don't watch The Walking Dead. Yeah, and of course, in the title role as Blade, Wesley Snipes. He's said he's been on record to say Blade is his favorite character that he's ever played. But then you hear all the stories about Blade Trinity, and you got that scene where he refused to open his eyes because he was so jaded and didn't want to do it. Conflicting stories, Wesley, I'll give you that. Donnie Yen's in this as well, of course. Incredible stunt actor, coordinator, and just a normal actor in his own right. Shout out Donnie Yen. He's going to be in John Wick 4 along with everyone else. Critics, 57%, audience, 68%. That makes sense. I can't imagine a critic enjoying this very much. It's pretty schlocky. It's just super over the top, super overacted. Not very comic booky at all. Like, there's just... I don't even know where to place it in the world, but it's definitely not in with the comic book movies. Synopsis. Blade, a half human, half vampire hybrid with all the perks. He says it in the movie. He has all the strengths of vampires, but none of the weaknesses. Like, how fucking convenient's that? Is forced to ally. He's forced to team up with his arch enemies, the vampires, because there's worse vampires called the Reapers. How do you one-up the vampires of the last movie? Create something that hunts vampires as well. Marv Wolfman, that's his real name, Marv Wolfman. And Gene Colan first created Blade way back in 1973. His first appearance was in a comic book called The Tomb of Dracula, and he was pretty popular, so he went on to get a bunch of his own stories. And of course, Mahershala Ali has been cast as Blade in an upcoming reboot. After watching this, I have no idea what it's going to look like. I have no idea what they could possibly do with it. It doesn't have to be R-rated. Like, whenever Adam and I talk about Blade, it's always, it better be R-rated, like super violent, super gory. This isn't really. Like, they got around it with this. One of the ways they got around it was with green blood. The Reapers just sort of have like a green pasty goo that comes out of them, and it's not very bloody at all. And if Blade kills any just regular vampires, they just kind of turn into bad cartoony skeletons and just kind of shine light and go and fade away. So, it is violent in that there's a lot of punching and kicking and stuff, but in terms of blood and, there's flashes when they go to a nightclub and there's like vampires with like wide open backs getting like something done to their backs, or like when there is blood sucking or something, it's quite visceral, I guess. And then you've got the Reaper's vagina mouths, which is a big thing in monster movies for some reason. They have to have vagina mouths that open out like that. I don't know why you would do that after Predator. Like, just Predator did it best, so just leave it there. Whatever. Blade 2, it's good, isn't it? It's real good. It's not great, and it's not conventionally good, I guess. Nostalgia goggles way heavy on this one, I think. But it is just kind of like fun. It's really fucking fun. One of the best things about it, and I've written it down here. I'm sorry, I read through all these notes like 100 times before I started pressing record, and I was like, I won't have to look down at this all the time. Peek behind the curtain, I'm going to have to look down at this all the time. Blade, Wesley Snipes, probably my favorite depiction of a comic book character so far, like genuinely, even including all the MCU stuff. Wesley Snipes is just fucking perfect as Blade, and he is Blade. Like, there's no battling real life alter ego trying to hide that you're Blade storylines. Nah, you just fucking title card, Blade shows up. There's like an 18-minute action sequence of Blade being Blade, and then they go back to the hideout, and he's just still Blade. He's still like crack 'em wise, and he's just so cool, and he's always in full get up and gear, and he just looks great. Like, the haircut, the tattoos, his eyes, like, man, the design is just so fucking good, and Wesley Snipes is perfect at it. He was obviously still very passionate about the character in this one because he actually tries and gives a shit, and he's just got a lot of cool lines, and like, he's really funny, and he's really like, just crack 'em wise, he knows how cool he is, and he plays with it. When he's threatening someone, he's not like, he's trying to intimidate them obviously, but in a cool way, like, he's not like being all tough and macho. He'll just say something cool and then like a little wry side smile, and you're just like, oh man, he's cool, like. And that was 2002. Like, you wanted to be cool. It was so important to be cool. Look at all the Fast and the Furious movies and stuff, Very cool. He's just, the design is awesome and practical as well. Like, his cape sort of gets in the way a bit. I love all the sound effects they put in. Like, every single move Blade makes, there's like a big over-exaggerated like that. And it's like, like in The Dark Knight or something, Batman's cape is huge and stupid and in the way. But it's not as stupid as this because it's not making incredibly just over-the-top ADR sound effects. It's so good. Every single kick is this big cartoonish, like, Hanna-Barbera sound effect, and it's really fucking funny and really, like, elevates all the action scenes. I spat all over my laptop. There's a big spit. It's a big spit. Anyway, the Reapers. The Reapers, turns out, it's a virus. Awkward timing to watch this movie. And they talk about, there's a carrier, he infects 3 people in one night, there's 10 the next night, etc., etc. And they go on like that. And with the COVID cases today hitting triple digits in New South Wales, it was a shit time to hear that line. Thanks for that. But yeah, vampirism as a virus, as a transferable, contagious virus. Whatever. You have to do something. You can't just do vampires again. That's not threatening, it's not scary. Blade could just rip through them all, and he does. Like, the normal vampires, Blade, like, just one hand behind his back, basically. He doesn't have to try it all. But the Reapers, throw up some new challenges and stuff, and he has to get some new tech, and they heal and regenerate, and they seem like faster than him and seem to know his every move and stuff. So he has to adapt and like think on his feet. That doesn't really come across because he's still just like doing cool kung fu and martial arts and stuff, which is great. It's great to watch. Like, it's really, really fun to watch. The fight choreography is fantastic. It's a bit chopped and edited still. Like, I thought back then, I don't know, especially in a movie like this, I thought the super over-edited stuff I tend to associate that with action movies now because they're just getting around actors who can't do any martial arts. But even back then, it's a bit like heavily edited and over the top, and it cuts between like, you know, in The Matrix Reloaded, there's the scene with all the agents and he's like spinning around the pole in the playground. Incredible scene, one of the most iconic action movie scenes ever. But when you watch it now, if you watch it on Blu-ray or something, it looks appalling. Like, it looks genuinely first era PS2. And this movie has a bit of that. It looks a lot like that. Like, you know, you need to go to CG to do some of the action moves and like some of the, like how fast they're going and stuff, but they just look like rubber, and like the environment around it changes so much, it just rips you right out, and you're just like, oh, I'm watching a PS2 cutscene. It looks really bad. But there's one at the end that they do it, and he like flips up in the air, and it looks awful and CG, but it's all one take, and then like he lands in front of the camera, Blade. He lands in front of the camera, and it's all one take, and then it transitions to real acting when he looks up. And I couldn't find a cut. I watched over it again, and I couldn't find where the cut was. So that's really impressive. Shout out Del Toro. You know, Del Toro rules, man. He's, you know, after this he went on to do Hellboy 1 and 2, which are good. They're okay. They're a bit more interesting than this because there's a lot more creature design he can do. The creature design in this one, like I said, it's just sort of vagina mouths and a bit of white makeup and some veins and stuff. Yeah, there's some cool stuff they do with that, like just any of the biting scenes, you know, they're just gross. Like, you know, they got horrible sound effects, and it's all sinewy, and like it's good prosthetics and stuff. But in reality, the creatures are just blokes in white makeup, really. And yeah, Hellboy, of course, and Pan's Labyrinth and stuff went on to, you would associate Del Toro more with creature design and weird, surreal imagery. This isn't that surreal. It's just like, there's some goons in some helmets, and Blade will just cut through them and roundhouse kick them. And it looks cool, like fun fights, fun martial arts, but it's not immediately Del Toro-y. Del Toro-y? Yeah, Norman Reedus is in this, Death Stranding himself. Just the most early 2000s character of all time. Like, it goes along with the 2000s techno beat soundtrack. Like, every fight has that soundtrack. You've heard it. It's like the Gran Turismo menu music, and like just every Matrix fight scene, every like one-on-one fighting game, like they all have that techno soundtrack. You'll know it as soon as you hear it. But there's a lot of that. And Norman Reedus, he introduces himself. He's like, my name is Josh, but you can call me Scud. Scud? What? What? Why? What does that come from? He explains it's like stud, but then doesn't explain why it's with a C. It makes no sense at all. Very funny. But yeah, so anyway, so Blade has to team up with a pack of vampires called the Blood Pack. Yeah, right. It's a little on the nose. Led by Ron Perlman, who just pretty much walked off the Alien Resurrection set onto this. He looks exactly the same. He's playing pretty much the exact same character. Not a lot of trivia from this movie, and one of the first ones, you can tell there was not a lot of trivia, because one of the first ones was, Ron Perlman doesn't take his sunglasses off for the whole movie. Okay, that's not really trivia. If you watch the movie, you just kind of be like, oh yeah, I haven't seen Ron Perlman's eyes yet, I guess, you know. But he plays Ron Perlman, you know. He's very gruff, very, you know, my shit doesn't stink, I'm the leader, I'm the most badass. And then Blade comes along and just shits all over him and embarrasses him and sort of has him under his thumb. They call it, they say, the vampires will betray us the first second they can get it, but we need them to get closer to the Reapers, and we can sort of use them as collateral damage in our fight against the Reapers. Of course they're called the Reapers too. Like, fucking hell, like, could you think of anything more generic than Reapers? Come on, just call them vampire squares. There you go, that's better, isn't it? Call them vagina mouths. And so the legend is foretold, of course. The vampires betray them. First second you get the head vampire, with his bad accent, it's revealed he created the Reaper virus. He wanted vampires to be more pure. He wanted vampires to be more like Blade, be able to daywalk. They call Blade the Daywalker. Fucking sick, by the way. That's, again, cool. That's just cool. What a cool name. The super vampires are called Reapers, and you're like, oh, of course. But then you got Blade, who's the Daywalker. Daywalker. You just want to flex when you say it. It's such a cool name. Yeah, the head vampire created the Reapers. The main Reaper, who we think is the villain in this, like the head carrier, the first Reaper, is the head vampire's son, because the head vampire created him, so like whatever. But he's defective. Something wrong with him. I guess I wasn't listening and I missed it, but whatever. Something wrong with him. He's defective. He comes back. He wants to kill his dad. Whatever, I guess. There's the conflict. But yeah, and Blade, Blade gets shot in the leg with a shotgun, and then, he's on this autopsy table, and they like put all these fucking huge metal rods through him to like drain his blood and study it and stuff. And he's just okay. He jumps in a big pool of blood, which heals him, obviously, because he's half vampire, not hampire. But that's the... God, there's a joke in there somewhere about a farm animal remake of this, and Blade is a pig, and they're vampires. Whatever. It's Monday afternoon. You're not going to get my best work. Yeah, but he jumps in a pool of blood, and that like supercharges him, and he gets up and blades his way to the end. But yeah, it's man on the inside is Scud, of course. The whole movie they're like, it's Whistler, it's Chris Christopherson, because at the end of the first one he was taken by vampires and converted into one. But Blade, he's Blade's father figure, so of course he rescues him, gives him all these chances and benefits of the doubt. And they're, painting him as the betrayer the whole movie. It's very obvious from the start it's Scud, because everyone's just like, where'd you find this kid? They're laying it on thick with Scud's dialogue as well, like, you should keep an eye on Whistler, like, Whistler's no good. The second he says that the first time, you're just like, well, he's obviously the fucking traitor, isn't he? You could think it's Ron Perlman, I guess, but Ron Perlman's not interesting enough for that. What else? Yeah, the team, the Bloodwalkers. What did I say? What were they called? Blood Command. No, what the fuck were they called? Blood Pack. Sorry. Oh god, it's just so generic. It's so action movie team. Like, you have Donnie Yen, the Asian who's good at martial arts with a sword. Of course, you've got the tough white, like he was obviously a jock in high school or something. You got that guy who's just like too tough for his own good. He'll eat a bowl of bullets for breakfast, and he's too trigger happy. You have that. You have a guy called Priest, and he's Irish. Okay, like just all of that. And then you have generic white, bald, heavy, strong guy who gets bit, tries to hide that he got bit, but again, they don't really do much with that. Like, it's not really that threatening. It's just another way to get rid of two of the members of the Blood Pack, so it'll only be Blade versus Ron Perlman at the end. And yeah, so the Reapers are made out to be a lot more threatening than they are, but they're really just vampires who can bite vampires, But it's an escalation on the first one. It's much better than the first one. It just the action's ramped up. They know how to shoot it a bit better. Like, Blade's more fleshed out and has a bit more fun with it. Or Wesley Snipes has a bit more fun with it. The end sting, which is before the credits. Back then it was before the credits. It was like movie finish, then a little sting, and then into credits and techno music. Blade follows the very first vampire he runs into. He follows into London. He's in like a porn booth, and like the porn booth lights up and it's Blade, and he like stabs him through the head. Fun. He's having fun with it. Blade Trinity is not that. Blade Wesley Snipes barely talks. They had to get Ryan Reynolds in to play Ryan Reynolds, and just never shut the fuck up. Blade Trinity is a baffling movie, and I hope I can do it one day. I'll have to put it back on the list and do something with it, because it's just, I've seen Blade Trinity more than I've seen most Marvel movies, because I was just so obsessed with it. Like, as a kid, unironically, I loved it because I didn't know what movies were. And then as a grown-up, quote-unquote grown-up, I just fell in love with it because it's so fucking bad, but it's like a shitload of fun and it's actually pretty sick. So yeah, I will do Blade Trinity one day. But Blade 2, objectively, pretty good, I reckon. I reckon this is a lot of fun. You don't really need to know the Blade lore because Wesley Snipes just does a little voiceover at the start, sort of speeds you up on it. And yeah, this is just a really fun, action movie, super generic, you can see everything coming from a mile away. You can almost predict some of the lines that are going to be said, it's just super generic, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. Again, probably nostalgia goggles weighing my face down on this one, but I really fucking like it. So yeah, that's it, man. It's Blade 2, it's a great movie. It's a fucking great movie. It's a lot of fun. Nothing to do with the MCU, like nothing to do with what superhero movies are now. This is more in your camp of your Alien Resurrections, or like just your boring Marine type team, backstabby macho, like dripping with over the top masculinity. Like none of the characters are likable, none of them are interesting except Blade. Blade is just so fascinating, so cool. I really wish he gave a fucking Blade Trinity so we could have a little bit more, like, the Wesley Snipes Blade could have ended on a higher note, like maybe on this one. But alas, we didn't. He didn't. He turned up for a paycheck to get out of paying taxes and sort of soured people's relationships with Blade until 2024, I think the reboot's coming. So yeah, I genuinely wonder how they'll do it or what they'll do with it. Like, obviously it's going to be super different, but I'm just excited, man. I think Blade's a fantastic character. Wesley Snipes or not, I just think Blade in general is really interesting and fun. And you can make a fun movie out of it, so hopefully they do. This is a very fun movie. Blade 2. It's not on any streaming, unfortunately. You have to rent it, but it's probably worth it. And if you're my age, you probably have it on DVD somewhere. Probably. Everyone had it on DVD. So yeah, that's You Like That Extra. That's Blade 2 for this week. Isolation Sessions Lockdown. Go to youlikethatpodcast.store. Get some merch. I have a hoodie coming this week, I hope. So yeah, even I'm pimping my own stuff. Follow us on the socials and especially on YouTube. Please subscribe. All of this is an algorithm game, right? And we're still going during lockdown. We're going to keep going. We're going to find something to do just so there's content, just so we can, we're there. Like, if you want content, we're there. So please subscribe. Please share it around. Just chuck it up in your Instagram story or whatever. All the eyes help. All the shares help. And I'll see you on the next one. The votes are up. They'll still be up by the time this comes out. So jump on to the Instagram post with all the movies there and vote in the comments and tell me which one you want me to talk about next week. Until then, Adam will be back on Sunday with something. I don't know what he's doing. He'll do something on his own. And then I'll be back next week for You Like That Extra Lockdown. My name is Jack. I've been one half, the only half of You Like That Extra Lockdown. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Cheers.